instructional video for changing the conveyor belt on an RLC250 conveyor. Always remove power to the conveyor or any equipment that you're working on before you begin operation. First, remove all the components that are mounted to the non-motor side of the conveyor. With only a few exceptions, all of these components will be mounted on dovetail brackets or DTCs. To remove a DTC, loosen the socket cap screws with a 3/16 Allen wrench until the bracket will pivot out of the side frame. Once everything has been removed from the side frame, use the 3/16 Allen wrench to loosen the two take-up bolts on the in-feed end of the conveyor. This will reduce the tension on the belt. Use the Allen wrench to remove the take-up block on the non-motor side of the conveyor. This is done by completely removing the take-up bolt and the two socket-headed cap screws that are holding the mounting bracket to the side frame. Next, remove the two mounting ears by removing the two socket-headed cap screws in the top half of the mount and completely removing it. Then take out the two socket cap screws in the bottom of the block and remove the block. It may be necessary to slightly lift up on the conveyor to slide it out. With the second take-up bolt removed, remove the take-up pulley and shaft by sliding it out of the slot, pulling it out. It may require a second person to actually remove the conveyor belt from the conveyor bed. Take care in making sure that the V-guide on the back of the belt comes out of the pulley and out of the sheet metal on top of the conveyor. Again, it is easier to replace the belt onto the conveyor with the addition of an extra person. Slide it over the drive pulley. Ensure that the V-guide does not catch on anything as you slide it in, and make sure the V-guide is seated on the top and in the pulley. Place the take-up pulley back under the conveyor belt and slide it up into position to where the flat on one side of the take-up shaft is in the take-up block on the motor side of the conveyor. Replace the mounting ears by putting the bottom half on first, tightening both socket cap screws. Make sure that the top half is the clip is in the groove. Tighten both screws to hold it in place. Reinstall the take-up block by lifting up slightly on the take-up pulley, sliding the block over the flats on the shaft. The grooves in the take-up block should match the grooves in the side frame. Replace the screws. Replace the take-up bolts in the end of the take-up shaft. As you tighten the bolts, it will take up the slack in the conveyor belt. You'll see the shaft pulling away. Go from side to side so that you have an even amount of tension on both sides of the conveyor. You should still have a slight amount of sag in the center of the conveyor belt, and adjust accordingly once the conveyor is run. When reinstalling the components on the side of the conveyor using the dovetail clips, if you lift up on the top half with the screws loose, slide it into the grooves in the side frame. Make sure the top and bottom clips are completely seated in the side frame, and tighten the screws. Reinstall the guide rail brackets and other components back onto the side frame on the non-motor side where they were previously. Once the conveyor is completely reassembled, start the conveyor running at a slow speed and inspect the alignment of the belt as it runs through the system. The best way to do this is to compare the edge of the belt to the take-up blocks and make sure it appears to be centered and it is running straight along the conveyor. Then increase the speed of the conveyor. Make sure you're satisfied with the position and the alignment.